Good morning, Sal. We're live for another episode of I look at you can see the background. I changed up a little bit. It's called Crime in America, man. So today we're going to talk
Yeah,
about one of
cool.
our first cases. We're going to
Right, right.
check out and do a little deep dive in that you had came across and you told me to do some research on. So,
Yeah.
you want to give a little background on this case in particular? I mean, I got some notes and stuff to expand
Okay.
on, but I mean, you really probably know a lot more.
This is about a kid in Michigan who killed four people. Had his parents buy him a gun about 4 years ago, and it was like a 22 caliber gun. And then after a little while, he told his mother, "Well, I don't think this is the gun I want. I want to see something that's going to do more damage." That's what he said. And they went and got him a high powered gun, and before you know it, he was out thinking or saying that he was going to be the number one school shooter in all of Michigan, and he went and killed four people. Well, once he did that, his parents were being investigated, and of course, the authorities have held him and they gave him life. And now the parents are the first parents charged with homicide
Is it
because they
okay?
assisted their son to kill people.
That's what I would research too, man. Is like
Yeah.
usually when something like this happens, they end up taking their own life. But like in his case particular, he didn't want that because
No.
he wanted the recognition,
Right.
according to his, because he had
Right.
journal, he was making journal entries and having like videos of
Right.
stuff that he was making. But like he wanted that credit, and so that's why he ended up going away. And then now the parents are being held responsible in some kind of way too. That believe they've been in jail for like 2 years now.
Oh yeah, it's a nightmare. And of course the mother, she wasn't focused on her son, and she even made a statement once about something like to the effect of, well, you can't, if you do something, you got to make sure you don't get caught. So in a strange way, she was sort of endorsing his criminality. So my feelings about shootings in America is, first of all, I have a friend up there named Denise in Michigan who's going to study the case and all. She's been writing about criminal cases forever. I've known Denise since 1978. Turned out to be a good friend and a writer. And I've been talking to her about it. And I'm going, well, there's got to be a movement here in this country about what do we do with teenage shooters? What do we do with these killers that are cold blooded? And why should they go to jail and have the luxuries of a prison, which consists of ice cream, television, all this kind of stuff, when they should be isolated and they should be kept away from everybody? They should have no contact. Once you take somebody's life, you should have no contact with the public. And of course, there'll be people listening to this saying, "Well, you were a criminal, Sal." Yeah, I was a criminal, but I had a line. My line was I never murdered anybody. I never hurt women and children. And so now in this day and age, we see it every day. School shootings. Terrible. So what do we do about it? And that's why we should open up this program to the public.
See what their thoughts are on it. Yeah, because right
Yeah.
now there's a now that you bring this up, this guy here, Pete, he already said I don't remember any of these things going on in the '60s or '70s. Did you?
Exactly. Yes, we're all in the same thought there. We had killings, whether it be professional organized crime killings or, just vicious robbery killings, but we didn't have school shootings. What happened to America? I mean, we had this guy, Trump, who ran around saying, "Make America great," 8 years ago. And now he has another slogan, "Make America great again." But what are we doing about shootings in America? What are we doing? I mean, sure, we have homeless, we have, immigration issues, but what are we doing about the young people killing each other and the senseless murder that takes place? And I think it has to take take a look at the punishment. And these people that go to jail, they can hang out in there forever and have ice cream, visits, television, all kinds of things. But I don't think it's fair. If you take a life, you should be put into a special prison.
Well,
And I think we should open it up to the public about these possibilities.
I think with this case in particular, they're really gonna make an example out of everyone involved with it. I suppose the parents and the kid. He already
Right.
got life in prison, but now with the parents, like I said, they've been in there for 2 years, but they really want to hold people accountable. I think for
Right.
all this stuff that's been happening, because usually how in the past with these incidents that happen, like how are they gonna prosecute someone that's already dead or they took their own life? So now
Right.
in this case, I'm sure they're going to go with the full extent on everything with it, man.
Well, the problem is, what are you going to do with these parents? It's never been, it's never been said before that parents are being held responsible for murders by their children.
Well,
And what's going to be the result of this test case in Michigan?
well, how involved were the parents, like with any of it, like the mom and dad, from what you researched?
Not really involved. The parents gave permission for him to get the gun, and after he did get that first gun, he wasn't happy about that gun. He had to go get a high-powered gun.
And that's not even legal yet for kids of that age, because
No.
yeah, certain ones here in Nebraska, I believe, are like shotguns and stuff like that, but
Right.
for hunting, of course. But I don't know in his case, like, what did they get him? Like a handgun or something?
Yeah. High-powered, a high-powered pistol, and that's what he had.
There, man. Well, even with that, like, so this happened back in 2021. So this is
Right.
a couple years ago now.
Yeah.
And we're in 2024 now. And there's still a lot of news coverage about this because it's something that people really want to hear about because they
Right.
want to know, just like your same question, what are they going to do to prevent these
And
things?
how are they going to hold the parents responsible? Half of the public would probably say, well, the parents shouldn't be responsible. Then the other half of the public would say, well, wait a minute. You allowed your son to have a gun, and then he didn't like that gun. Then he would have got, a more powerful weapon. And he bragged about he was going to be the number one school shooter in Michigan. I mean, there has to be some type of resolution to what you can allow these kids to do after they have a shooting. Are they going to just go to jail and spend the rest of their life in there? He made a statement to the judge about him rehabilitating. I mean, from 15 years old, he's going to be there 30, 40 years. And they do let murderers out. I'm not in favor of that. We've seen organized crime guys who are scheduled to be released. One of the Gemini twins is going to be released this year after killing, who knows, countless number of people. So my question in America is, what do we do with the murderers in America? And why should they be released? And why should they be put in prisons where they have music, ice cream, visits? It doesn't make sense to me. That's not punishment.
Well, with some of these other court documents and stuff too, like he had some other thoughts too about really wanting to hurt other kids and younger kids especially too. And for him, I mean, it really had to have been like something mental issues going on with that because
Right.
the school even brought this to the parents' attention that they think that he should get outside help, and
Right.
I don't think they went through with that at all or
Well,
got
they didn't
got him help.
follow up. He had signs. There were flags that he was possibly capable of committing violence and murder, but nobody followed up. So where does that begin? How does the school make a recommendation to the parents? How do the parents, say, okay, look, this child needs counseling. We need to examine him. We need to, have him looked at. I mean, because of all the violence in America, something needs to be done. There needs to be some kind of an advanced notice about who these people are, who these kids are. I mean, look at their Facebooks, look at their social media, and these manifestos that they write. I mean, we should, have the public, chime in on this and give us some ideas.
Well, let's see if they got some. Let's go through our comments here. He says, "Good morning, Sunday." Or sorry, he said, "Good Sunday morning, fellas." Thanks for tuning in, man. He said he's been anxious for this premiere. Thanks for sharing it with us.
Right. So what's his feeling?
Well, let's go down here. Look at here's Miss Bubbles here. She says, "Good morning, fellas." Good
Yeah.
morning.
Yeah. These are normal people that read about this stuff just like we do. And there's got to be people that come up with ideas. Okay, what is that we can do to protect the kids in school? What is it? What kind of changes can be made for convicted murderers that they just hang out in there on and get access to social media? They have access to cell phones that get slipped into prison. I mean, there's lots of corrupt jail guards. I mean, this needs to be addressed.
Well, Pete here says we had teachers that took no mess, so maybe like didn't mess around. You know what I mean?
Right.
They didn't mess around when it come to anything like that. And then Paul says, "Yes, I agree." The stupid
Yeah.
slogan.
Yeah, really.
He said, "We as a country aren't addressing any issues. Nothing of the government does sold us out, failed us all. It's over."
Right. But there's got to be changes made. Look, for years and years, guys like Harvey Weinstein, who was a sexual predator, got away with all kinds of stuff. And there was a movement. And now they hold people responsible for, sexual acts and they get convicted. It used to be like, oh, you know what? 5 years went by, you're above beyond the statute of limitations. So those changes have been made. Good for women. Yeah, women can come forward. They used to be laughed at. So what is the changes that we're going to try to initiate to prevent school shootings? That's the simple problem I see in this country is school shootings and nothing being done about it. So let's ask the public for some ideas.
Well, here we got one by Joey Bubbles here. He said, "No way in my day I could have pulled something like this off without my parents knowing. Parents were so much more involved with raising their kids back then."
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Now, you leave your kid in the house, you go to work, and he can be buying drugs or guns delivered to the house. We're in a whole different place.
It is. I mean, it just seems like more stuff is more accessible.
Right. Right.
Let's see.
There you go.
Most here boy says, "I was raised in a small town in Southwest Michigan. My mother worked in the dry cleaners. She knew everyone. I couldn't get away with doing anything wrong."
Right.
He said he currently resides in North Carolina.
North Carolina, yeah. So what does he think we should do about kids that become shooters? What should happen to them?
Well, what are your thoughts on like while the people are asking questions, what is your thoughts on like the whole mental health? Because that's a big red flag that has to be addressed somehow.
Well, I think that there should be separate facilities, criminals who are murderers, like Scott Peterson. People remember who Scott Peterson was. A lot of these people that were murderers, they're just in the middle of a prison, hanging out in general population, watching television, getting visits. I think that needs to be some laws that are changed. You take somebody's life, you shouldn't get any visit. You shouldn't get any phone calls. You shouldn't get any ice cream. There should be no luxuries in prison. Why should you be afforded ice cream as a murderer when the family, let's say you murdered somebody in somebody's family, they're still suffering from the violence that you committed. So there needs to be changes, more restrictions for murderers in this country.
And see, with him in particular, the shooter that did this, he said that in one of the court sessions, they have video footage of all the courts, trials, and everything, but they said that he said the judge can sentence him as much as they wanted. He felt bad about what he did, and he wanted to get better.
Right. He's,
So
he's not going to get better. He's a convicted murderer, and it's not going to change. So what do you do with him? And my point is that these young kids, they see a convicted murderer, he goes to jail, he's just living a life, and he's bragging about how much murder he committed. He puts up, he has friends put things up on social media about how cool this kid was who shot four people. Uh, my question is, why should they be allowed communication with the public when they take somebody's life? I think that needs to change. I think their sentence needs to change. And I think there should be a separate facility for convicted murderers. They shouldn't be hanging out with some guy who committed some credit card fraud, or maybe he was selling some marijuana, or maybe he was in a fight in a small town. He gets sentenced to 5 years. Why should he? Why should the guy who's just doing a short term be in the same facility as the murderer?
Pete here says once the signs are spotted, there should be some counseling involved.
Right, exactly. There's got to be some follow up. I mean, if we don't do this, we're going to continue to see, school shootings, which even you, Adrian, you're only 24 years old. You didn't see school shootings when you were 6 or 8, 10 years old, 15 years ago. You didn't see that. It wasn't as popular.
There was, I remember the one, actually, like, it was at an elementary, not in my area, but in a different area. And I do remember, like, hearing about that. And when I was, like, probably in middle school or just younger, but it made me really
Right.
think, like, what the hell, like, this is possible. And I was, like, just thinking of my little brother, because he was in elementary at the time. So I was just thinking, like, man, if this is if this is actually happening, man, this is terrible. This can happen to anybody. So it really did affect me when I was just seeing it maybe on social media or something,
Right.
probably all over the news and stuff. But they would show all these little elementary kids that were gone because some guy went in there and did that.
Right.
I can't remember the name of that case, but I'm sure, if people do research, you could see that there was that. And it's just terrible to think, man. It just really even scared me just to think about, was my brother going to come back from school?
A new type of profile should be created, and law enforcement should have a list. And of course, yes, there's always the issue of mental health involved. But what are we going to do about school shootings? This is an election year, and the public needs to speak up on issues. This is just an important issue as immigration.
Well, yeah, especially if this is happening inside our own country. We need to have some kind of program or some kind of thing implemented to stop this kind of thing from happening, because it's becoming more and more of an occurrence, man.
Right.
That's terrible. It should never be like that, man. But now you have to worry about, because even like besides even the schools, man, like events that get hosted, like concerts and different stuff too.
Yeah.
Same thing. You got to worry about that.
We got sickos right here in Vegas. I'm in Vegas for the weekend. We had a guy on top of a hotel shooting people a couple of years ago. I mean, this is a novel idea. A guy took a whole bunch of weapons, went on top of the Mandalay Bay, and started shooting people at a concert. And eventually, he killed himself, and that was that. And so you don't stop something like that. It's almost impossible to foresee that someone's going to, get on top of the building and start shooting people at a concert. And then we had this whole shooting out there in Texas, Uvalde, a couple of years ago. And what did law enforcement do? They were dragging their feet, and more kids were killed. So what needs to be done? And this needs to be, more programs created to try to prevent this stuff. There was a guy on TV the other day saying, look, one of the few companies that's exempt from being sued are gun companies.
They don't get taxed, exempt, like tax exempt?
No, just legally exempt from being sued.
Oh, bullets and guns, both of them?
Yeah. I mean, so there's got to be regulatory stuff, and it, becomes so political. Half of the political right and the political left are for guns, against guns. But are we solving any of the problems to protect the kids in school? That seems to be one of my passions. What can we do to prevent kids from being killed in school? Let's open it up to questions. Let's listen.
Well, here we got from Mosier Boy. He said, I do get an uneasy feeling when we hear about school shootings. I have a 17-year-old
Special
special
needs.
needs daughter in public school system.
Right.
Yeah.
So what do you think you could say to the elected officials? How do we protect our 17-year-olds?
Well, he said, I have my opinions, yes, sir, but I'm not one to voice or text them on social media platforms that I'm active in all due respect.
Yeah. Well, we need to get active. We need to speak up because if we're not solving the problem, we're part of the problem. And everybody knows that. So there needs to be changes. This is an election year, and officials running for office should listen to the issues that we have in this country. Yeah, we have lots of issues. Oh, yeah, everybody's worried about the economy, and everybody's concerned about Ukraine, and everybody's concerned about Iran. But what are we doing to protect the kids? That's the real question.
No, I know. I mean, that is a big deal, and it should be the top concern because
Right.
they are the future as well. And how are
Yeah.
we going to feel safe if they're not safe? How is anybody going to be able to focus or anything? They get your kids to school, and
Yeah.
it's just a mess, man. Really.
Right. Yeah, we talk about crime, and we did, a whole year almost of crime stories and mob stories, and yeah, that might be a little bit entertaining, but there's not a lot of value in talking about what happened in the 1970s, 80s, 90s. We need to move into the now, and we have children, we have families, and after all my years, 39 years away from crime, watching what's going on in America, I feel a passion that we should speak about what we can do to protect the kids in school. And we got listeners out there and other listeners coming on. So I encourage people to call, have questions, make statements. If you have to be anonymous, it's fine. Make believe you're in the program. Okay. Secret.
Yeah, the witness protection.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm trying to see if I can. Oh, another note that I had made was that after he was Ethan, the guy that did the school shooting, was that
Right.
after he had seen his parents, there was this video clip, and it was, of course, them emotional and stuff, seeing each other. But then, I mean, the only concern that he was worried about was his cat Dexter, which was named after a serial killer, and he just said, "Take care of him and make sure he's all right." And I was just like, "Damn." But that's all the video showed. I don't know if that was really it, but that was like the
Yeah.
clip that showed that. I mean, he was just concerned about the cat.
Yeah.
So
Well,
I don't know, man.
the
But the
problem we
parent,
have is that, people want to exaggerate. They want to brag about their crimes online. And everybody knows that crime has taken a different lead in this country. Yeah, I mean, really, I would have never thought 20, 30 years ago people would want to listen to my mafia criminal stories. Why do they listen? I don't know. Look at television. Every other show is a crime show. There's such a huge interest in it. But that's all sort of like, okay, well, we'll watch CSI, or we're going to watch this show, that show. Does that do us any good, or does that put us to sleep, or does that just, in a strange way, allow the viewers to endorse crime in America? I mean, it's weird. It's very weird, and people do listen to this stuff. But
oh
where's
yeah,
the change? How is the change going to take place? How do we? You have a little 4 or 5 year old daughter. How are you going to protect her in 5 years?
I don't know. I mean, you really just like other people, they just think everything's going to be all right, man. You just take
Yeah,
them to school and you do
yeah,
that. But I mean, you can educate them. I mean, the schools do when they do their drills and stuff as well. Their school shooter drill and all that. I mean, my daughter's told me about how they have to do practices and stuff like that. Be quiet, go in a corner of the room, turn off the lights,
well,
or wherever they may go. I mean, it's just always different.
yeah,
They have to mix it up and stuff, and it just depends where they're located or at. But it's just I don't know, man. Like, but the thing is too that say it is a kid that's going to the same school, they're gonna know where the people are hiding or where they're
yeah,
staying at and stuff. But they want to do their best to keep them out of Dodge. But it's really you're asking teachers and stuff to be prepared for an attack, man. And you don't really think about. I mean,
Right.
that's the last thing they're thinking about. They're thinking about teaching some kids, man, not to worry
Right.
about some shit like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
My
just don't
wife
think
is a
about it.
kindergarten teacher here in Arizona, and it's a small little school. And, these are all 4 or 5-year-old kids. And, she has that in the back of her mind all the time. What if some weirdo popped up at this little Christian school that she's at? It's scary. What do they do? I mean, how do they protect, a whole classroom of kindergarten kids? I mean, it's a scary situation, but there needs to be something that is going to take place that's going to educate the public about the dangers. No one wants to realize there is danger. I mean, the whole episode down there in Uvalde, people were in shock because they were outside the school and the cops were dragging their feet to go in there and get that shooter.
Where was
So
this one? I haven't seen this one.
that was in
This event.
Texas, Uvalde, Texas, a couple of years ago and all. It finally got a lot of publicity, and they held the law enforcement responsible. Yeah, they got fired. They changed them, they moved them, but that didn't bring back the lives of the kids that were murdered.
No, there's no coming back from that. There's
Yeah.
none, man. There's none.
Yeah.
You can't ever come back. That's why it should be such a big deal to figure out what can be done. But I think a lot of people have mixed views and different things too. I mean, you have
Right.
your opinions and other people have theirs, and it's just really hard to figure it out because it is a really sensitive situation, man.
Right.
That's why some people like, that we had, viewers and stuff, they just don't really want to have a, voice the opinion because it's just confusing, man. It really is. But
It's something they don't want to talk about or think about. Well,
yeah.
It's not going to happen at my school, but it does.
Well, we see it, man, and we see it in the news all the time, all kinds of different stuff. So it's like, what do we? I don't know. Maybe it really. I don't know, man. For me too, it's just confusing. I haven't really thought too deep on it either.
Yeah.
I mean, but it's obviously a big issue.
Yeah, it's a scary thought.
Yeah.
Scary thought. Well, I want to tell you about these. I'm in Vegas, and we got these props that people like to read about, and these are many pages of all the gambling going on to do with the Super Bowl. And so, if someone wants a copy, they can let us know and send us their address, and I'll mail them right out this week. It's good all the way up to Sunday. It's all a possibility of all kinds of bets that people make. What color Gatorade is going to be thrown over the top of the coach, and how many times are we going to see Taylor Swift on TV?
Shit.
And what's the score going to be? And you can't get this anywhere but Vegas, and it's pages and pages. It's the most extensive gambling props ever for this Super Bowl. So I happen to go over to the Red Rock Casino and get about a dozen copies. And if somebody wants a copy, let us know. Send your name and address in. You want to make a little donation, great. If not, it doesn't matter. We'll still mail it to you. I'll send it out media mail. You'll get it by Friday. And you can enjoy what's going on in a positive way on television to do with the Super Bowl.
Yeah. I'll put our email in the video description.
Cool.
If anybody wants one, you can send it into that email and just let us know if you want one. Sal came up with that idea. He just came across them and thought they'd be pretty interesting. They are.
Yeah, there it is. The Pro Football Championship game, props, all the gambling props and everything, what's going on. And it's just a fun thing to do. It'll be a collectible piece of the Super Bowl. So, we come here, we'll be here next week watching, and it's a big event here. I mean, the whole town is bubbling over. They already had a Formula One race here last year. Now the Super Bowl, and there's all kinds of stuff always going on in Vegas. The whole town is exploding. So it's kind of fun. We participate in a little entertainment.
Who do you want to win the Super Bowl?
Well, I'm a San Francisco fan, but I wouldn't be disappointed if Kansas City wins. So it should be a pretty classic football game. Should be fun to watch. And I know Bubbles is out there. He's there. He's watching.
Yeah, we did get a super chat from Mike. Hey, Mike, he did have a
Good.
question. He said, "Hi," or what did he say? How did Sal meet Card? Maybe he meant Cataldo, and how did he get involved with the mafia?
Yeah.
Is
Oh,
that
my family knew his family all the way back to the 1920s, and my uncle was in prison with Dominic Cataldo. And I was only like 22, 23 years old. Cataldo got out of prison, came to my little pizza joint, and we went from there. That was the late 60s. Gambling was just, really exploding. Remember, everything was illegal back in those days. So the funny thing about illegal activities, the public likes to embrace illegal things. It's really interesting. And
yeah.
once something becomes legal, it's not as maybe as alluring to certain people. You can walk right in and make a bet in New York City at the OTB, off-track betting, or you can call up now DraftKings and make a bet. So it's not illegal anymore. And back in those days, everything was illegal, and the mob was always, paying off law enforcement so we could continue, to operate gambling businesses. But if Mike wants a copy of this here prop sheet, tell him to send his address. We'll mail him out a copy. I'll sign it. It'll be kind of fun, and I'm guessing that San Francisco's going to win. I'm going to say there's going to be over 50 points. You guys can hold me to that. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, Mike, the email's in the video or in the live chat. So
Right.
if you want that, just go ahead and give us your information on there, and
Yeah.
we'll get you one, man.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you for that super chat, man. We appreciate that. Let's see. Oh, yeah, he said Cataldo. That's what he meant.
Right.
Thank,
Oh,
he said,
yeah.
Thank you, guy. Yeah, well, Mike, next Saturday, we'll have an episode out that Sal and myself, we recorded yesterday. It's going to be about Sal's jewelry store heist or whatnot that he did with Donnie Shacks and Dominic Cataldo and how they pulled that off. So
A little inside heist. Yeah.
yeah. Morrissey Boy says, good sit down, guys. Thank you for another opportunity to participate. Have a great Sunday, everyone. God bless. Thank you for
All
tuning
right.
in, man.
Thanks.
Roman says, what's up, guys? Hey, Roman. Thanks for tuning in, man.
Raymond, we're talking about crime in America. We're talking about school shootings. We're looking for information. We're looking for ideas. Please participate or have someone else who has a passion for what we're going to do about protecting our kids. So that's one of the things we talk about.
Joe here says, Sal, did you know Mimi Dominic Scalzolio, Colombo
Okay.
captain?
Joe, I didn't know him. I didn't know that guy. Remember there was, during my early years, there was a Colombo War going on, and everybody kept sort of private. And Cataldo kept me away from a lot of Colombo guys because we were dealing drugs, and he wasn't supposed to deal drugs. So I had limited access to the Colombo guys. I had more experience with the Gambino guys or the Genovese guys or the Lucchese's, the Goodfellow guys and all. So it was just a different time back then.
Mike here says, my dad was a detective and always said that drugs should be legal.
Yeah, probably so. If it was legal, it wouldn't be, once drugs became legal, certain drugs, it was less of an allure for it. So, and they could actually, there's an organization, I think it's like law enforcement against prosecution. They think a lot of former detectives thinks going after drug dealers is a waste of time, when in fact, there's other ways to address the drug epidemic in this country. We got a fentanyl problem in this country, and that has a direct influence on teenagers. Everybody knows what fentanyl is, and it's dangerous.
I just interviewed a guy that was he's a younger guy, and he was addicted to that, and he changed his life around and stuff. But that's how I came across like hearing more about this whole fentanyl and the issue with it, and it was a big part of his addiction. And I was like, man,
Yeah.
you're really on that. And he was able to.
Yeah.
He wasn't aware of how big of a thing it was or how big of a killer it was, but
Right.
he eventually did, and he made it past it. He overcame that. But yeah, that's one hell of a terrible thing to get to ever try to ever do,
Yeah.
man. We see lots of people popping up that end up
That's
not
one of the
making
few drugs you take a minute dose and you could be dead.
it.
I
Mhm.
mean, it's not like heroin. Yes, heroin could kill you, but I mean, there's certain drugs that just kill you so quick, you have no chance. And fentanyl is a big fear of the American pharmaceutical business. I mean, if you really dig into it and look at the companies that made billions, they were they were targeted, they got fines, and they're not going to jail, the owners of those companies. So, you could talk about major drug dealers around the world, but the people that distributed fentanyl got away with it, and they're still free as birds, donating to political organizations. I'm still here.
Hey, it's Adrian Martinez. Please leave me a voicemail.
I can you hear me, Adrian? We got a little technical difficulty here. There you go.
Hey, I'm on my phone. I don't know, my internet
Okay.
on my computer just went out, man. But I'll just do it like this for now. Sorry about that. I don't know.
I can see you. Yeah, I can see you.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I'll
We got-
wait till the internet comes back on, but I can still access stuff here.
We got some more questions.
Yeah. Let's see. This one here from Pete says, "How was Dominic Cataldo's demeanor? Did he have a sense of humor?"
Oh yeah, he was entertaining. He was sharp. You wouldn't believe that he was, a hitman. He had a personality. He had family. He had friends. He dressed well. He was generous. You just a lot of these guys that were killers were entertaining. They were likable guys.
Let's see. We got one here from Lee. He says, "Good morning, guys. Just jumped on. Hey, thanks for tuning in, Lee. He's always a gentleman, Sal. He's always tuning into all of our shows."
Hey Lee, how are you? Who do you like this week in the Super Bowl?
What's up? What's up, fellas? Dave from Crime Central, Oakland. Thanks.
Oakland. Oh my gosh, that's a tough place, Oakland, California.
Yeah. Well, thanks for tuning in, David. Got any questions for me and Sal, man? Let us know.
Yeah.
Sal, ever thought of coming to Northern Ireland?
Well, hey, Gray, get us booked out there. Adrian and I will come out there. We'll do a show, man. Find us the location, a little vending area, and we'll come out there.
Yeah, that'd be pretty fun, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Get us the sponsor.
Joe here says my dad owned the Say Hi bar in Bath Beach with him. Carmine Persico had him whacked. Mimi was crazy.
Oh my gosh. Sorry to hear about that, Joe.
That's terrible, man.
Yeah, all those guys killed back in the day. Very sad.
Let's see. What's up, guys? We protected gold and wealthy people, but
Yeah.
not kids at school.
That's what we're talking about. How do we protect our kids? I mean, life's not all about money and wealth. So we need ideas. You guys need to form a group and let's talk about it.
Peacemaker said, just watched the Sinatra Club movie yesterday. Great little fix. Was your friend really killed by D. Simone?
Yes, he was. As far as I knew, I was in prison the week he was killed, but the word got in there from Angelo, John Gotti's buddy. We were all friends back in the early 70s, that Foxy was killed on December 18th, 1974. Through this program, I actually talked to Foxy's niece and nephew not long ago because they didn't know a lot about their uncle. So, yeah, in those days, everything traveled. The word traveled.
He said, and what happened to him dating? What happened to your sister dating him? Maybe they misread that because he wasn't
Yeah,
dating.
I don't know exactly what happened to Foxy's sister. I did talk to her in 2009-10 while we were doing the Sinatra Club movie. Her name was Patricia. So I did talk with her back then. And she actually lived in the same house as my wife and I for a short time. And I think some years later, her mom passed away. But, she was a nice person and got involved with the bad guys.
Lee here says 49ers KC is good is is too good. That's why them
The
Dems
Dems.
trying.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's going to be interesting if everybody's paying attention. We don't know what the effect will be of the Taylor Swift, the Swifty, the whole Swifty group. But from what I hear, it sounds like Taylor Swift is a Biden supporter. And, I think she has 250 million followers. Could you imagine all those 18-year-olds voting for Biden because they like Swifty? So who knows what's going to happen, this year.
David said it's bad out here. Total lawlessness, the homeless and prostitution, dope fiends, low lives, working humps, and there's plenty of jobs.
Right? Oh boy, what a life we live. You got to be able to wade your way through, protect your family, keep your kids away from the druggers. Nothing's easy, man. We got a lot of difficulties, a lot of challenges.
Yeah, no kidding, man. I'm gonna try to see if I can reconnect to this laptop real quick, but just
Okay.
keep talking about something.
Yeah, we got all kinds of issues out there. Hopefully this year, election year, we'll be able to make some progress. And, with lawlessness, we got homeless, we got prostitution, drugs. But, life is still good. Did you get connected, Adrian?
I think it's gonna let me in, yeah.
Okay. There you go. Well, we got